Today we're learning how to make this nice 6-slide deck presentation in PowerPoint all the way from scratch, using its consistent color palette, using the nice visuals, the mockups, and building everything from scratch, including the transitions that you can see on the screen. And if you like this style of presentation, I've also made a 30+ slide deck in the same style, which you can download via the link in the description below. If you want to follow along with the same color palette, these are the colors that I've used in my presentation. You can easily add them to yours as well. And let's start from a blank slide and start with the opening slide. And for that, we're going to add a nice image to the background from Unsplash. I got this one. I'll link it in the description below so you can download it as well. Then we're going to add a text box on top of the slide. And let's give this a title name. It can be your company name. So let's type in company, make it white. The fonts we're going to use Avenir Next, increase the font size, see what works. On this, I think 115 will do quite good. Center it in the middle, and we're going to make it bold. If you want to arrange it or put it in the center, go to Arrange, Align, Align to Center, and then this text box is neatly aligned in the middle. Position it on the slide somewhere like this. That looks good. And maybe to make it pop a little bit, let's right-click Format Shape, go to the text options tab, shadows, and then add a small drop shadow. This way there's a little bit of that distance in between the text and the background, and that shadow really makes it stand out a little bit more. It's the small details, but I think it matters. This is the first slide. We'll come back to the first slide in a minute when we've created the other slides for the transitions, but for now let's move to the next slide. Right click New Slide and start with the second one. Remove all the content because we don't need this. Let's copy the image, Ctrl C, Ctrl V. And now we're going to add some rectangles on the screen. So drag a rectangle from the top left somewhere about in the middle. Doesn't have to be all the way in the middle. We're going to move it a little bit to the side, remove outline, and we're going to give this the nice green color. We're going to hold Ctrl, Shift, and drag the box to the right, and then make it a bit smaller. And this box we're going to give the dark color. Now let's add some elements to these slides. Text, drag a text box in here, and let's add some lorem ipsum, some dummy text. Again, we want to use the font Avenir Next and a very subtle version. Let's go for ultralight, make it a white, and about 16 will be good. Let's copy this box so you can hold Ctrl, Shift, and drag the box. And here, let's type in, let's say president, whoever is making the quote. We're going to make a quote from this one. And then we're going to add a nice design element on top. For that, we go to Insert, Icons, and then let's look for a quote. Type in quote, and here we have some quotation marks to work with. I like this one, the single quotation. Drag it here, increase it in size. It can be quite large. Doesn't have to be in any particular size. We're going to make it the same green as the left side of the slide. This way there's a connection between the colors that we are using. Let's drag some elements to the other side. So the text box, we're going to drag it to the other side and create a copy. We remove some text, of course. That's too much. Let's maybe call this, let's type in mission and vision and make this bold. Let's try demi bold, increase the size to about 20, and then create a copy once more because that's a subtitle. And this can be the title of your slide. Let's type in who are we, question mark. Increase this size by quite a lot and make it bold. And then just select everything and drag them somewhere in the middle so it looks nice. A few things we can do. We're going to select the rectangle, right click, format shape. And also here, we're going to add a little bit of drop shadow to the right. So there we get this drop shadow effect on the background image. We can play around with the settings. So if you want, you can add a little bit more blur, increase or reduce the transparency if you want it more visible or less visible. I'm going for about 35% transparency and a blur of 10 points. We do the same for the other side, but we're going to use drop shadow to the left and then also reduce transparency and increase the blur. That looks about right. Now this is the second slide. Let's move on to the third slide. Create a new slide, remove the content, and we're going to give this one a solid fill, the dark fill of our color palette. Go to shapes, and we're going to select this particular shape and drag it all the way from the top down to the bottom of your slide. Position it so it meets in the corner, and you can play with the handles if you want. I think this looks quite okay. Remove the background and give it the same color fill, the light color fill, the light green of the palette, so that we have a consistent style. Let's copy some elements, in this case the title, and for this slide we're going to use our portfolio. And the main element on this slide is of course the mockup of the phone, and we can recreate that one in PowerPoint. So go to shapes, drag a rounded rectangle on the screen, somewhere in the size of a phone. Reduce the roundness of the corner until it meets or it kind of resembles a phone. We're going to remove outline and make this one dark gray. There's a few elements that are missing on the phone, and that is of course the selection button. So let's create the on and off button, remove outline. You can hold Control while zooming in, and then copy these also to the left side. Make them a bit smaller. There we go. And then you can zoom out. And it kind of resembles a phone. Maybe we put them on the same height as one another. There we go. We can select everything, go to shape format, merge union. And this way we have created one solid outline of a phone in PowerPoint. And now we want to add the screen. For that we're going to add a rounded rectangle again. Drag it from the corner top left to about the bottom right. Reduce the roundness of the corners until it sort of resembles the screen that you want. Remove the outlines, and then you can zoom in again and position it where you want. Then scroll down and do the same at the bottom, so everything is nicely and evenly aligned. Then we want to select the frame from the background, hold shift and select the top one, the screen. Go to shape format and subtract. And this way you create a cutout of the shape of the phone, which is transparent, and that's what we want to create. Let's say we now add a image to the slide. There we go. And we can position it on top of the phone or even in the background of the phone. And then if we send it to back, let's position it right here. If we select the image, we can go to picture format, crop the shape, add rounded rectangles. And then here you can adjust the roundness of the rectangle of the picture. And then you have quite a cool effect created in PowerPoint for this mockup effect. You can add any sort of content. You can add screenshots. You can add general images. That is all perfectly possible. Select both, group them together. And this way you can scale them down or scale them up quite large because you're working with vectors here in PowerPoint. If you use these shapes at least. Let's increase the size and put it somewhere on the right side of the slide on top of the background shape that we have created. Now let's add some more elements. Go to shapes, circle, and then hold shift while you drag a circle to create a perfect circle. Remove outline and give this one a green color. Let's type in the number 1 for the first point. Make sure it's in the same font. Avenir next, make it bold and a little bit bigger. It's maybe too big. 20 looks good. And let's copy some dummy text and position it next to the bullet point. Reduce the font size, 12. And then the first one, we're going to copy this text box or this part of the text and create a new text box. Uppercase, bold. And we're still working with the light version. For the subtitle, we can go for, let's try demi-bold and a bit smaller. Position them on top of each other. And this way we have created a nice first bullet point. We can easily copy it 1 and 2 times and then change content to number 2 and number 3. And this way we have created quite a nice looking portfolio slide where you can demonstrate your products. Let's maybe increase the font size of the title to 40 and position it on top here. That will look a bit better. And then also for consistency, let's make this 40 as well. There we go. And this way we have created a nice portfolio slide in PowerPoint with the mockup. Let's move on to slide number 4. Create a new slide, remove everything, format a background, and give it a dark, same solid fill. We're going to copy some of the text elements again. So copy those two. And now we're going to make a SWOT analysis. So for that, type in first one, which is strengths, copy the text box, and we're going to make this an S, increase the font size to about, let's say 66, and then give it the subfont an ultra light version and make it green so we have that nice design element on the slide. Maybe a bit brighter, it's a bit optical, so you want to, this one can be a little bit brighter than the regular color that we're using. And then select them, group them together, and then you can easily copy them 1, 2, and 3 times. If you select them all, you can arrange, align, and distribute horizontally to have them centered. Group everything, align to center, and this way everything is aligned centrally in the slide. Ctrl-Shift-G to ungroup, once more to release all the content. And then we're going to add WOT. And now of course we change the words, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Select it all, move it a little bit downwards because we're going to add a title to the slide, center in the middle, arrange, align to center, and give this one a title. Let's call it Market Analysis, and then position it up a little bit and just balance the slide out until you're happy with the result. So it's quite a clean slide, but it will look pretty good in the overall effect of our presentation. Let's go to a new slide, remove the content, and here we're going to add the background image again. So add the background image, and we're going to add a rectangle. We can also copy that one. Let's copy this one because we're going to put it on the left side of the slide, but we can easily change the color so we have it darker. That looks quite good. Make it quite large. And now we're going to add some graphs. For that, we're going to add a circle, the one with the donut shape. Hold Shift and select it, reduce the inner circle, and let's make this one white. Copy some of the dummy text from the previous slide. It works quite fast if you can copy some of the elements that already exist in the presentation. Align to center, and then center everything underneath the donut. Do the same here. Make the font size 1 tick smaller, expand the box. And now we're going to add a shape on top, so shapes. And this time we're going to add a block arc. Hold Shift and then put it on top of the donut. And here we can play with the completion of the circle, and the other angle or the other handle will control the width of the circle that we have created. So we want to make it the same size, position it in the center, and then we can control the percentage of the circle that has been completed. Let's remove the outline and give this the nice green color element. And we can copy this text box in the center. And let's say we add some percentages, maybe 40%. Increase the 40, the font size to the 40. I tend to leave the percentage one untouched. I think it looks quite good. And then make it bold and reduce the font size. And then of course we have to position this around the 40% mark. This could be, let's name it product A or product A. Select everything, group it together, and then Ctrl-Shift and drag it to the side. Do that once more. Select all three, align, distribute horizontally, and then Ctrl-Shift-G to ungroup. Change the percentages. This one could be 65 and the other one could be 85. And then we modify the completion circle to about 65 and the other one 85. That's around here. Change the products to product B and product C. Copy the title from the previous slide. Drag it so it's centered on the left side of the slide. And this we could call market share, for example. And that brings us to the last slide. We're going to create a new slide and we're going to copy the image, the background image again. We want the right half of the slide covered with a text box or with a rectangle, shape fill the lighter color, and here we can add a nice thank you message. Let's copy some elements from this introduction page, copy it to the last slide, type in your words, thank you, and could be another thank you message that you can all personalize without any issues. Maybe this could be get in touch, and then you add some contact details to the slide. That is always a good thing to do. Center it in the middle and maybe add an icon to complete things. If you want them to get in touch, a call to action, it's always good to add an icon. Contact could be a phone. Yeah, maybe a phone is a bit more modern. If we look for phone, there we go. Not the most modern phone. Let's maybe go for a cell phone. That's a bit better. Drag them all, select the items, drag them upwards, and there you have created quite a nice looking thank you slide to close off the presentation. Maybe I like these ones better if they're centered. So let's center the text, arrange, align to center. That for me looks just a little bit better compared to the alignment on the right. And that brings us to the transitions of the slide. So for that, we're going to start from the beginning. We have the first one, and we want to use the slider effects. We want to use the morph effects between the slides, so all the elements come on and off the screen. So first thing I would say is make sure that the content on your slides is final, and then move over to the transition part. Because we're going to copy quite a lot of content in between slides, and if you want to change something on the first one, then you have to copy it wherever you added it. So we go to the second slide, copy the elements, the ones on the left, the ones on the right. You can select everything, hold shift, and then drag and select to create another selection. This way we don't have the background image. Control C, go to the first slide, Control V, hold Control and you can scroll backwards. Select the elements from the first part or from the left part and drag them out of the vision of the slide. Do the same for the things on the right. And now if we add a morph transition in between those slides, they will nicely fade in. We can see that this company logo kind of faded away. If we don't want that, we can copy it, paste it, send it to back, and then send the background image to back as well. So the layering in between the slides is exactly the same, and that is important for the morph transition to work. Now we drag this one to the left, so out of the vision. It doesn't have to be entirely out because this one's going to cover it anyway. And now if we reapply the morph transition, we get this flying out effect. The company went away quite fast, so if we just have it stop here, it won't be visible and I think it will look better. That's quite a smooth transition. Now that was the first transition. The second transition is going to be a push transition. And that's why we have made this box on the right the same color as the background of this slide. So if we now add the push transition effect from the right, they kind of fade in, or they kind of flow in nicely with each other because they have the same color. Increase the duration to 1.75 or around 2. And we're going to do the same for this slide because it uses the same effect. And then increase the duration. And the same for this one. Push from right and 1.75. You can always just hold shift. So select one slide, hold shift, and then click on the last slide to select all three, and then apply the same transition or do it all at once. And for the last slide, we want to use the morph transition again. So that means we take the content from the previous slide that we want to appear or disappear. We paste it on here and it has to fly out. And this content from the last slide, we copy it to the previous slide and we drag it to the right because that has to fly into the slide. Go to the last slide and apply the morph transition. And this way we get this nice thank you message. Now let's preview what we have. And here we have a nice opening slide, quite a fresh image. If we click, we nicely transition to the Who Are We slide with a cool morph transition. Click again and you get the transition, the push transition to the portfolio slide. Moving on to the SWOT analysis or the market analysis. Moving on to the market share slide. And then a nice push transition again in the same style to a thank you slide and a get in touch. Now I've also made a 30+ slide deck in the same style, so if you're interested in that one, you can download it in the description below. Now if you want to learn more about the transitions, what you can do with push and morph, make sure to watch the video on the screen right now.